Mic check, mic check. Hoping everybody can hear me loud and clear. Peace, peace, everybody. We got Kendra D coming up shortly. Super excited about this one as usual. Okay, she's already in the building in the chat. We're gonna let the room fill up. This is going to be super exciting for me because this is a woman who hangs out in the manosphere environment. Interesting enough all by itself, correct? The Bias Show, what up, dog? Torian Rain, what up, dog? Wanted y'all out because I don't see y'all here often. And I appreciate the work that y'all put in. Shout out to Candy Romero, bro Rob. Linda Anderson, welcome. Mr. Mister, what's up, bro? Welcome back. Indeed, greetings. Y'all come on in the room. Push it out. Push out the notifications. I'm gonna push it out some more. I sent the links out through email to about 80 something people, I believe. Pushing it out to Facebook now. I'm not that big on Facebook, but I have a presence there. Twitter. Let's get the room full to the extent possible. I don't want to push out too many notifications because y'all have been on the other side and you get notifications from the same person 20 times because they got you on a lot of lists. Gotta be careful about that. But listen, man, I got a feeling, matter of fact, it's not a feeling, I know that we about to learn a lot from a very, very different perspective. It's only a few sisters, you know, that you run into that can hang out with the fellas like that. It was on the block, it was only one or two of them, you know, that knew how to hang out with y'all. And I got a feeling that this is who Sister Kendra is, man. You know, in fact, I've been watching, so I know that's who this is. Can y'all hear me okay? Is the music and my voice okay? The music ain't coming directly through the system like I wanted it to. I got a new laptop, man, and I'm still learning how the hell to get this done. Okay, good. Thanks, Little Rock. Hey, what's up, Little Rock? Indeed. So, yeah, so me and her are going to have a conversation. It's not going to be, I'm not going to consider it all formal like that. We're going to go through the basic questions. But then there are some things that I know she has the skill to break it down in ways that she wants to break it down to my audience. So the interview is going to be simple. It's going to be easy. She has quite a few interesting positions that she holds that, you know, I believe people will want answers to certain questions. And so, you know, I'm going to do my best to do what I do to get to the bottom of it. And let me make sure I did get the link out to her. Again, post it up, fam. Post it up, fam, because Kendra D is in the building. She's now in the building. On the right song, too. On the right beat. That's a good intro beat right there. Indeed. Y'all come on in. We got Lolita just came in the building. Art, peace, bro. Mr. I hope I didn't miss you up there. Lolita said she mad. What you mad about? Yeah, we gonna chop it up like a family up here. First row, what's up? Yeah, we gonna drop the fire for sure. James T, what's up? Peace. Yeah, we're gonna drop some fire today for sure. There's a couple of people I want to talk to on that side. But Kendra D is an outlier, man, on YouTube. I think it's only three women that I think I've actually seen really hang out with them on a regular basis. But she is most definitely the one that holds it down on that side. 17 people in the building and counting. Hit the like button on your way in if you will. Tony Smith, peace, man. I don't like this song, y'all. I'm sorry. Sorry, the DJ gotta just skip one on you. Swab Boss, what's up, man? Swab Boss be having the debates over on this channel over there. I get a chance to step through every now and then and listen to the brothers break down various stuff. Now, you got to be well versed over there in whatever the topic is, because they're going to go in, books in hand. Bismillah. Salam, fam. Yeah, Swab Boss, y'all go check them out. Indeed. Indeed. Yup. I just opened it up. Yeah, subscribe to the brothers channel. Anything Swab Boss post mods, if you're in there, go ahead and approve it. You know, sometimes Google won't let everything through, but definitely. Indeed, Kendra D, our Muslim sister. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into some how she does her Islam. Islam can be like really, really unique. It takes on its own character per person. It's not a cookie cutter type religion. It's the reality of all things, in my opinion. Nicole Ali in the building. What's up? Soul Alchemy. What's up? I'm sorry, Soul. I did see you pop in there. I was running my mouth though. What's happening with you? Y'all sub to Nicole Ali Soul Alchemy. So don't forget to drop your link for your business, your products. I vouch for Soul Alchemy's products and her business dealings. Oh, let's get you modded up in here, Kendra. I didn't mean to disrespect you like that. No reason you should not be modded. So we're going to wind down and get into our discussion in just about 30 seconds. We're going to go with what we got. Gab ain't learned the formula how to give 100 people in the chat yet, unless I got, Angry Man, one of those, is an Angry Man, and who else got me 100? Angry Man, Sinji, Obsidian. Alright. So we're going to cut it right there. And we are about to go into today's discussion. Let me put my headphones in now so that we can control the echo if there's going to be any. Let's see. All right, Kendra D, let's go ahead and do a mic test. Can you hear me? Unmute yourself.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, sweetheart?
I sure can. I appreciate you coming through, man. It's been a long time. We've been trying to set this up. Yeah, I've been watching from afar for a while, and I remember, I don't know when I first started. I know Crew turned me on to your channel, that you had your own channel, and I started tuning in on and off, and I definitely was catching you over there in the Coliseum, is what they call it, I think, or Ceruleans. I think you're on Ceruleans more, or you kind of back and forth.
I'm kind of back and forth.
Okay, yeah. So, but that whole what do you guys call that group? Is that the Gray Faulkner? What is that group called?
We the Black Order.
The Black Order. Okay.
That's under Angry Man's banner, but Cerulean Gray has the Gray regime.
Okay.
So we just all family over here. So I'm part of both of them.
Yeah, that's nice. I like what I see going on over there. For the most part, everything has its place where you may have contention or you don't agree with something. But for the greater percentage of the time that I'm watching, I'm a regular. Let me just say that I'm a regular, and the rest I put into a box. I don't know when I'm listening. I don't really join panels unless I feel like I got like something to contribute. Within the flow of the conversation, so I don't come through much, or I don't even, sometimes they'll have the hangout thing and I don't jump up there much because they be going so hard on different things. It's like, oh no, they can have that, let me let them go ahead and chop it up, but needless to say, I'm glad that you were even remotely interested in coming and having a conversation with me. Let's start out now. Obviously your name is Kendra. And would D be your last name? Would D be your middle initial, or
no, last?
Last name. Oh, last. Okay, last name initial. All right. How long have you been in? Not just social. Let's just be specific. For how long has it been since you've been on YouTube and doing your own material? Yeah.
I want to say it started late last summer. When did I drop my first video? Probably in July, I think,
Okay.
2018. And I've been kind of hanging around before that, probably late 2017.
Hmm.
I started really going ahead and watching Angry Man because I didn't even know who he was until he did that panel with Sin and China
Really?
and what's the brother's name?
You
Now
said Sin, China, and
they were on Angel's channel.
oh yeah. Boyce Watkins. Some of the people was Zaza on there too.
Zaza wasn't there. She wasn't on that panel.
Okay.
It was Torian, Rob, Angry Man, Sin, China, a lady named Jasmine, and I think that might have been it. And Angel himself
Okay.
was on
Okay.
that panel, and that was in early. It was either in early 2017, I want to say. I
Okay.
say that, and because I didn't know who Angry Man was, I knew who Torian was. I had
Okay.
watched his material, um, and I knew who China. Actually, at that time, I was subbed to Sin,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
but they was doing the whole, banging on the beats type thing when I
Hmm.
was subbed to them, and that actually made me unsub that panel.
It made you unsub to which person?
Sin in China.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't like how they conducted themselves during that interview. If you didn't agree with what Angry Man was saying, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they conducted themselves properly as
Okay.
me. And I didn't like some of the energy. So I was like, you know what? I'm not really feeling it. So, I took myself, not that anybody noticed or said anything, but I just quietly unsubbed.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I didn't start listening to Angry Man right away.
Okay.
Um, I was kind of in and around the what I was discovering to be the manosphere, Black manosphere.
Okay.
And like, oh, there's a whole subsection of YouTube over here with brothers. I'm like, oh, because I didn't know what MGTOW was. I didn't know what Earmore was. I didn't know.
Right.
And so then I started sort of watching Angry Man, which led me to BGS.
Okay.
And that kind of led me to BGS for women. I forgot how I found BGS for women, but I did.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is interesting
Hmm.
because, the running narrative and the first perception is that, the brothers on this side of YouTube don't like the sisters.
Right. Right.
But I didn't want to just take that and run with it without actually experiencing it for myself to say, what do they feel about Black women?
Hmm.
Um, and then come to realize BGS and Angry Man, all that they some sweethearts. They don't have nobody, but they will go in. That's
Yeah.
all right though.
Yeah. Nah, they definitely go in. Um, and I've grown to have a great respect for that. Just about everybody on over there. To be honest with you, I can't think of anybody that I don't have respect for over there. So, and all of this was done within a year.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
around a year's time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, and so your introduction, probably like a lot of us, I think if I had to think about it, it may have been Sinji and Tommy. I was subscribed to China. We talking about China Fox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was subscribed to her too, as well, and I was kind of watching whoever they bumped into is how I got introduced to the next person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
probably Angel. I probably bumped into Angel through them. So it was kind of the same for me. That's pretty interesting within itself. The other guy, Tommy Sotomayor, was another one. You know, because
Yeah,
that was kind of black YouTube for a portion of the
it
early
was.
portion of the time. Yeah,
It was because
that's
I
what.
was subbed to Tommy a few years ago,
Yeah.
and even though his approach was a little abrasive,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? he ain't lying though. I
Yeah,
mean, and eventually it got, in my opinion, a little bit
a
wild.
little
So
toxic.
yeah, it got a little bit interesting. So I kind of withdrew, from that as well. But the
Yeah,
the intro when he first kind of started and was first, I was like, you know what? He's kind of telling the truth. It's a hard pill to swallow,
yeah.
but
That, yeah,
yeah, I can't say he lying, especially when you have video after video after video to kind of prove your point.
yeah,
It's like, well, you can't really deny the point at that time. You're just kind of getting your emotions in at that point of not wanting to hear it, but or not wanting to hear his approach or what have you. But yeah, I would subscribe to him probably, I think maybe about 2015, or it might
mm-hmm,
have been
mm-hmm,
something like that,
mm-hmm.
14. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I called myself trying to listen to the hard truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like let me just go ahead and take this pill. When Sin came out, it was the same. I first saw her on Boyce Watkins' channel, and I was like, you know what? That's hardcore, but it's the truth. Same thing with Chan. I think I first saw her on Facebook. I didn't used to see her on in the YouTube environment. And it was similar for her. I was like, okay, these people are passionate about what they believe, and they come out. And then after a while, I just kind of simply heard enough of it, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of started looking for more. And you guys were here. Everybody that we're running into was they're here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so when you came out, you decided to make your own channel almost simultaneously. You decided to do content nearly at the same time.
It wasn't very long after. It wasn't even a complete year because I had been frequenting BGS for women. I was always in Angry Man Live, and for a while, myself and three other ladies were doing a weekly show with Brother X on his panel, on his channel every week. We were doing the show was called Four Unicorns or something like that, Unicorn Four, something like that. And we were on
Mm-hmm.
Brother X's channel for quite a while before I started my content. And I think I started my content maybe a month or two after that show was no longer going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing my content because everyone was like, well, we kind of need to hear your voice. We want to hear more from you
Mm-hmm.
about, what you think on various issues. So the point of my channel was to address Black women specifically because I saw a lack of our knowledge of our own femininity, and our lack of embracing it, or refusal to embrace it for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought, why don't I present a place where they can get this information? And I didn't intend for it to be soft and coddling, because I
Okay.
think we've had a lot of that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you coddle, it doesn't encourage the person to grow. You only move when you're uncomfortable.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. You're a little low, but I can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, people been telling me I've been a little low here. Let me see if I can fix this. Testing, testing. Is that
That's a lot better.
oh
Hmm.
much better? Okay, good, good. All right. All right. So yeah, that's your path to getting here. Um, your life before YouTube, um, was it that of Black consciousness before you got here, or is it that when you came here you said, "Man, that's interesting. I never knew this about Black folks." Um, or like, when did you come from? Were you raised in a family that was just simply Black? You know what we're calling Black conscious, or uh, did you come into it at a later time in your life?
I was not raised in a household that would have been considered conscious or woke.
Hmm.
Um, I was raised in a I was raised in the church, and I'm not saying that to say that nobody in the church is conscious of what's happening around them, but
Okay.
that's the environment that I was raised in. We was raised in the church, the whole rigmarole with that, missionary Baptist and the whole thing.
Hmm.
And this my awareness of what was going on in the Black community did not start when I came to YouTube. Um, I had always been interested in knowing more or being aware of my surroundings since I was a young teen.
Hmm.
And it has been synonymous with my spiritual path. It has run parallel to that because my true spiritual path began at around 13 or 14 years old. Um, when I decided I was going to read the Bible from cover to cover a
Hmm.
couple of times because I wanted to understand the religion that I was being grown up in. It wasn't enough for me to simply accept it without having formed my own knowledge and opinion on it. And that actually led me away from Christianity, oddly enough. And
Well, after you, okay, after you read the Bible, or
mhm,
really,
mhm.
why?
Because what I was reading did not coincide with what was being taught in the church.
Ah, you found contradiction.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, you guys aren't actually teaching what is here because what is here is not some feel good pie in the sky type thing.
Hmm.
This is rough and rugged type. You know what I'm saying? The ideologies that you find
Hmm.
are not these coddly sort of let's give you a hug, everyone's wonderful type of thing,
Okay.
And I said, okay. After the third time I read the Bible from cover to cover, I said, okay, I'm not a Christian. I can't subscribe under that banner.
Okay.
But I didn't stop believing in God. I just distanced myself personally from the
Church.
structure of Christianity.
Okay.
And what I also began to do at the same time was I think my first book about anything Black was this old book called Nile Valley Civilizations or something like that.
Yeah. By I think.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I know exactly. I have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started reading books by Richard Wright, Black Boy. I started reading Malcolm X's autobiography.
Mhm.
And I just began to sort of look more into these names that were given to us that I realized I didn't know much about.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we know who Malcolm X is, but do you really? Have you ever read any of his speeches? Have you ever heard him speak? Have you ever read any of his books? Have you ever delved into what his ideologies really were?
Mhm.
And so I began to read those books, um, and go to the back when bookstores was a thing, go to African
Oh
bookstores
yeah.
and try to pick up, things that were interesting. I thought, of course, I did not absorb every ideology that I ran across,
Right.
but I did take the meat and sort of disregard the bones, so to speak, from the things that I did read and did come across. And so those things helped to sort of wake me up and give me a better sense of reality because my childhood was not roses. So I didn't have the fortune of being able to look at the world through rose colored glasses.
Mhm.
I had
Mhm.
to see things for what they were, not what I thought they should have been.
Okay. Yeah. Those are some great books. I think I started on the third one you mentioned, the Malcolm X,
Hmm.
because my journey um, was through like the Malcolm X movie. It kind of jolted me, woke me up a little bit more. I had always heard little pieces coming through the family, like
Mm-hmm.
little nuggets about what it means to be black, but not a lot. And I grew up in the church as well. In my consciousness, like me really paying attention to or making sense out of what it means to be black came like in like at 1920, something like that. And that's when I made my journey. So we share, we're going to get into after you left Christianity or you stepped back from Christianity, as you put
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't want to mince your words.
Mm-hmm.
You stepped back from Christianity, and this was around 14, 15, 16,
Mm-hmm. About 15 years
about
old.
15 years old. And you kind of said, you know what, y'all, there's some hypocrisy and shit going on. And then you are now wearing a hijab.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm imagining that this is either Islam. You let the people know what is it that you're practicing now, and when did you turn in that direction?
I'm Muslim
Okay.
and it
Salam
is
alaikum.
Orthodox.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. So the gap between Christianity and Islam took a few years. I did not go from one to the other immediately.
Right.
I chose to study as much as I could other religions or other spiritual ideologies as well.
Hmm.
So Taoism, Confucianism, the Eastern sort of spiritualities, because they're not necessarily religions.
Okay.
They're more spiritual systems, but not quite the structure of the Abrahamic religions that we're accustomed to.
Okay.
Um, and so each one that I came across, which included Hinduism and included these other spiritual systems, actually had some running threads that were common to each.
Indeed.
And it was those threads that I picked up on as universal truths, because everybody across the world isn't just coming up with this out of their ass, right?
Hmm.
There's some commonality. There's a reason why there's a commonality in thought on some of these things, and whether they're worded a different way or what have you. And I winded around to Islam when I was about 18.
Okay.
And the only reason that I even bothered with Islam is because I'm like, okay, this is the last of the major religions that I have not studied.
Okay.
I know nothing about it, and I don't know any Muslims, and I have my preconceived notions, and that's not good enough.
So you didn't even know any Muslims?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
And so I had my preconceived notions, but I've never liked having preconceived notions, because if I'm going to disagree with something, then I have to know what I'm disagreeing with.
Okay.
And it can't be what I assume it is. It has to be what I know it is.
Hmm.
So um, I began to sort of, this is back when the internet was new, um, because as Gen Xers, we watched technology progress. So this was back when the internet was new.
Hmm.
And I was looking on the internet for any information about Islam. And I bypassed the nation on purpose
Okay.
because I knew that there was a difference. I didn't know what that difference was at the time, but I knew there was a difference between the nation of Islam and
Yeah.
what would be have considered Orthodox Islam.
Okay. Okay.
So I decided to go with Orthodox Islam just to find out the basis, the foundation.
Hmm.
And so once I began to sort of look into what is the actual founding ideology behind it, I
Okay.
wasn't concerned about the practices or other people's perception of it. I was concerned about what does it say about God and life.
Okay.
And once I kind of got into it, it was more and more intriguing to me because it began to answer questions that I had.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when the questions got answered, they were logical. So, because my thing was, if you're going to believe in God and if God is real, then it should appeal to our logic, because the human being is going to ask the question, why? And if that question can't be answered by a God that is supposedly all knowing or what have you, then this God is either not real or not worthy of any sort of devotion.
Mm-hmm.
So in my studies of Islam, it sort of was checking every box that I was looking for. And I was looking for truths, even if they were uncomfortable. I wasn't looking for a religion that I felt comfortable in. I was looking for something that appealed to logic and reason and made logical sense from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking for. And I eventually found it in Islam. I took my Shahada in December of 96.
What's the Shahada?
The Shahada is the thing that you say in order to actually become Muslim. And it's not just what you say, you have to actually believe it. So the Shahada in English is, I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship besides Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed it at the time that I said it. I said it in my dorm room by myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm Muslim. A week later, it was Ramadan. I had no idea that it was going to be Ramadan. And
Right.
I did not know how to fast.
Okay.
And then I started going around the Muslims because I was going to UIC at the time,
Okay.
which is University of Illinois at Chicago, which is a large university.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a Muslim Student Association. So I found them and I was like, I'm Muslim. I'm a new Muslim. And they were like, really? I'm like, yes. And they were like, okay, so it's Ramadan next week. And I'm like, it's a who and a what now?
So you didn't know of the pillars. You weren't aware of
I was aware of what they were. I just was unaware of my timing.
when they failed and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So how did that first fast go?
It actually went pretty good. It was easy.
You didn't make it, did you? Did you make it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did all the days.
Okay.
From beginning to end, and it was helpful that there was a Muslim Student Association there, because they had like the suhoor and the iftar. The suhoor is the breakfast that you eat prior to fasting, and the iftar is the meal that you eat to break the fast. So they had those in like a group setting in the dorms, and they were like, "You're invited, come on," blah blah blah. So that actually helped me, because it was like a group effort, so I wasn't left on my own to try to figure it out. And they taught me how to make the salah and the nuances and the details and things of that nature, with the practice. But the ideology I had already accepted.
Okay, I got you. So now let's get into it a little bit more. This is an interesting thing going on for somebody who's still a teenager. Sounds like you were still a teenager. You did not have a support group around you while you were doing this.
Correct.
You started studying several other religions kind of on your own. What was the aid in doing it? Was it just Kendra and the library? Was it just Kendra and the internet? There was no person anywhere helping to guide even the study of these things.
That's correct. So it was just me, African bookstores, libraries, and when the internet became something that I could access, it was that. Just my drive of wanting to know. I had always been accused of being stupid when I was young.
Okay. In a real sense, or are you saying jokingly? You're saying this in a real sense. Folks were trying to call you dumb and stuff.
not folks, my mother. She would always be like, "You're stupid," because I would rarely speak because
Okay.
my idea was if I didn't have anything to say, why am I talking?
Okay.
So I was actually very quiet as a child, very quiet, but observant. I watched everything that was going on. And she was like, why? Saying like, you're stupid, you're slow, you da da da. And so that actually spurred me to do things like become an honor roll student all the time and become very studious because I loathe stupidity and I did not want that label attached to me. So it was everything that I could do to actually gain knowledge,
Hmm.
any knowledge at all. So that spanned from academics. I made sure that I excelled as much as I possibly could in school. Um, it made me very studious of everything. I wanted to know about how the world worked. I didn't want to be one of those people that went through life not truly understanding the world around them because I didn't feel like I could function properly if you don't know. How do you function in a world that you have no idea really what's happening in it? You
Hmm.
can't make the right decisions because you're under misunderstandings and misguidance. So that spanned to my spirituality as well because I'm like I can't leave any major aspect of my life untouched with ignorance. I can't leave it with ignorance. I have to have knowledge.
Hmm.
And so all of these things ran concurrently for me. And it was just an inner drive to want to know, period.
No, this is um, good stuff. Were you doing this? Okay, so I know you were doing it on your own. Did you have siblings that live with you? You were raised, I'm suspecting, with your parents, right? Your mom,
Mhm.
was it your mom and your dad, or was it a broken? Yeah.
It was dysfunctional, but it was my mom and my dad.
Okay, okay, a little dysfunctional,
Yeah.
like a lot of us.
Yeah,
Uh,
separated, back together, broken up, back
yeah,
to
yeah,
drugs. I'm Gen X, so we ran into the crack era and
yeah.
all of that. And there are four of us. So my older brother, me, then my sister, then my younger brother.
Oh, okay. So you're like the third. Uh,
I'm the second kid.
you're okay. You're the second kid. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, and you got two above you and one younger than you,
I got one above me and two younger than
and
me.
two younger than you. Got you. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. um. So yeah. So academically, you are you are very astute and sounds like you're sound academically and on into religion and some more stuff. And I can tell from your conversations that you are not just pulling stuff out of a hat somewhere. You're it's always it always sounds researched. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm definitely tilting my hat to you for that. Um, your family, because nobody else was doing Islam, everybody else was grew up Christian and it kind of accepted the status quo. Can you describe what that experience was like? The pros, cons, the positive, negatives of that?
It was interesting because at the same time, I didn't know this at the time.
Hmm.
At the same time I was on my spiritual journey, actually my older brother was doing the same. I didn't know that because he had moved away and went to college and all of that kind of stuff. So he was kind of on his own, doing his own spirituality. And when I took my shahada, I realized he took his around about that in the same year, around about the same time. And so I was like, I didn't know you were researching. He was like, yeah, what I'm saying, I was actually. And so it was for a while, it was me and him, we're the Muslims in the family.
Hmm.
And my little brother and sister were young. So I sort of raised them. I'm only about 9 years older than my sister. I'm 11 years older than my youngest brother. May
Hmm.
he rest in peace.
Oh,
And I
sorry.
raised them. And of course, they saw me as their mother. So when I accepted Islam, they were eager to learn about it. And I had no issue teaching them what I understood because my spiritual journey started not too far from their ages.
Right,
My
right.
little sister was about 11. I was about 13 when I started reading the Bible, so it wasn't that far. So I understood that children were not as inept as people think that they are.
Hmm.
And they're very astute and they're very observant. And they can absorb more knowledge than we ever give them credit for. So I was able to sort of spoon feed a little bit as
Yeah.
I learned and grew more and just understood more things. I kind of spoon fed them. So my little brother and sister eventually took Shahada as well.
Nice.
My father took Shahada in 2009. He was actually the staunchest against it.
Okay.
And he eventually took Shahada in 2009 at my hands. So actually it's sort of a family. Now my mother waffles about it. She kind of goes back and forth. She's attached to the church, so
Okay.
she's unwilling to sort of let that go in any real capacity. But maybe one day she will or won't. I don't know.
Okay.
But as for the siblings, all of us eventually became Muslim.
Man, you quite the influencer here.
I like to think that I influenced it.
I would say so. So yeah, no, that's a really interesting story. So the pushback, or what about your friends? I haven't heard you mention, friends or friends from school, like because the transformation now you're wearing clothes that are different. You obviously you're praying. Like, are you a stickler for um your Islam and its practices? It's the five pillars, the fasting, the five times a day prayers, and the other things that come along with being a Muslim. Are you on it? Are you kind
Yes,
of
I am. Yes, I am,
okay?
honey.
Okay.
I haven't mentioned friends because I didn't have any. I had just people that I talked to in school or whatever, but I did not have what would have been considered my best friends or my closest
You didn't
friends.
have that.
My circle has always been very small or almost non-existent, only because of my perceived weirdness. I've always been the outlier. I've always been the person on the outskirts.
Okay.
So even though people would like me because I'm cool as hell, but
Mm-hmm.
once they dig deeper under the layers, it's like, oh, you're not actually in with all of us, are you? You're kind of
Yeah, yeah.
like outside a little bit. And so I did not have really close friends. I consider my family my friends. Um, but I did have associates and I would, interact with people. I had no problem socially. I was not socially awkward. I just am very, very careful about who I allow into my circle. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will just kind of swerve once they realize I'm not with the bullshit. So if you come to me and your life is full of chaos and full of shit, I'm gonna let you know. And then I don't associate after I realize you're on some shit. So
Okay.
then our friendship has to probably go to the wayside. So that's why you haven't have heard me mention a lot about any friends or whatever. So I didn't care about what people thought, and that has actually served me well. I,
Okay.
I was doing what I was doing because that was what was best for me. And anybody that didn't like it, you could kick rocks. I don't care.
Right. So you don't see nothing about not having friends at a young age. And are you even including, like, in elementary school, like when you were coming up and you played in the playground or on the playground, there was somebody that you was cool with, I'm sure. And
We was I was cool with a couple of people,
Okay.
but as far as these are my closest confidants, I didn't really get one of those until high school.
Okay. There we
I had
go.
two girlfriends
Hmm.
who I was really cool with. Most of my people that I would have called friends were boys. I was the tomboy. I was the one that liked basketball. I like football. I'm gonna run around, you know what I'm saying, and this and that, you know. I was that girl
Okay.
in the neighborhood.
And you from Chi-Town? I heard
Yes,
you.
sir.
Okay. Born and raised?
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting upbringing. And so in high school, you didn't have to, by the time you were in high school, when did you start? Okay. It sounds like you were in college when you fully accept when you made your shahada.
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't go through any backlash from any kind of significant change in your
Mm-mm.
ideology about religion because that was kind of you and your business. That wasn't you weren't at school talking about it and sharing it with friends.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. So I did that, you know, in college I was kind of on my own doing what I was doing, going to classes and sort of hanging around and exposing myself to other people's cultures and this and that because my high school was mixed and then
okay.
of course university's mixed.
What?
And
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so, you know, that experience was actually welcome
Mhm.
because you get to understand where other people are coming from, their perspectives on life and all of that. I've always been sort of interested in that. And so, but yeah, by the time I took my shahada, I was a loner. I'm a lone wolf a lot, and
Okay.
so it didn't affect. The only backlash I really got was from my father because he didn't understand the change in the ideology.
Okay. Yeah, he thought somebody was manipulating his daughter or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I would have felt like that too. Um, the okay, so you didn't have to go through that in high school, and so not having friends or people in what you would consider a close circle. Did you go out? Did you get in trouble like a lot of the other children of the neighborhood? Did you go to parties? Did you? I don't know what kind of music they do in Chicago. A lot of step music or something like that.
Step is for older people.
Older
Let
people.
me
Okay,
do this.
same
When
here.
I was young, it was hip hop and it was Chicago house music.
Yeah, Chicago house music. Now, so did you go out to? Did you have like boyfriends and like the regular stuff high school kids?
No, not really.
Okay,
And the reason why I did not is because first of all, I was rather straight laced. I was the nerd girl. I'm a nerd.
okay, okay,
I never skipped class. I'm a nerd, like to my heart.
okay.
And the reason that I didn't have the normal sort of let's get in trouble, let's go to the party, let's do this, let's do that, if as a teen or whatever, because I was always put in a position to be responsible. um,
Gotcha,
my
gotcha.
mother eventually got on drugs, and so when I say I raised my little brother and sister, I mean that. When I went to school, I had to come back home.
Ah,
I had to make sure that they got in from school. I had to make sure that they had dinner. I had to make sure that their homework was done. I had to make sure that they went to bed on time. I had to make sure that they were okay and that nothing was happening to them and they weren't having problems in school. So I was forced to be responsible and the mother figure. So as the mother figure, I did not have time to sort of get into the type of trouble that a teen would normally get into. Like, let's try weed, let's try drinking, let's go to a party. So I can kind of count on one hand how many parties I've ever gone to. And so boyfriends was off limits.
hmm.
Um, I got my first real boyfriend when I was 17
Off limits by who?
by my mother. So even
Okay,
though she was doing what she was doing, she was still a boomer.
okay,
And so to her, you didn't even say boy and friend in the same sentence. You couldn't. Now my brother had a different standard for that. But me, it was like she was like, well, you can get pregnant, your brother can't. So you had just better not deal with boys because you better not come in this house pregnant. Period. Period. She didn't want to hear anything to the contrary. It was like so it was like I was scared to deal with boys. You know what I'm saying? I was, and then by me being a tomboy and sort of not viewed as very attractive when I was growing up as a teen or whatever, it was kind of easy to stay away from boys because they weren't flocking around anyway.
Got you. Um, so I get it, and I remember. I'm thinking about some. I'm 50 years old. I'm gonna just put that out there.
You're what?
I'm 50.
No, you
So
not. You lying. You lying your ass off. This the first time I heard you say, nope,
I
I'm not
say it
ready.
all the time.
Mm-mm.
Watch some other videos. I say it all the time. So
You don't look
that
50 at
makes me
all. And not at all.
no
Not
thank
at all.
yeah. So that makes me Gen X too, right? Am I right?
You're right on the edge, I think, of Gen X.
Yeah, because it's baby boomers then Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Gen X. So um I'm thinking about that time period too. Like I remember the days that the stories that you talking about, you not to be having no boyfriends and stuff like that. Now we had them, girls and guys still had, their little relationships at school and stuff. But you not gonna be having no serious nothing going on. That
Hmm.
kind of was the order of the day. Now, was everybody sneaking? Yeah, everybody who wanted to do it was sneaking, but it was never any outright. But there were a lot of girls that followed the rules at that time.
Hmm.
There were a lot of them. So I was connecting with what you were talking about. Um, so it sounds like you were quite the obedient person.
Oh
Kind
yeah, I was
kind of
real.
follow the rules,
Hmm.
and it looks like your responsibilities because you were put in a position like a lot of girls in my neighborhood. Sometimes guys, I've seen guys who had to take care of their families at home too. So it made them mature a lot quicker. And so it looks like that's exactly what position you were in. I'm very familiar with that kind of story. Um, and anyway, do you feel like you missed a part of being a child, or you missed your childhood? Any regrets with respect to how things shaped up for you as a young person?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I used to have more regrets when I was younger because I lamented not having what I considered a good childhood and not being given the freedom to sort of, get in the mix of shit and kind of, you know, get your lumps while you're young
Hmm.
and then you can kind of develop because I'm mature in a lot of ways and then inexperienced in other ways. So it was kind of interesting to me that I could have a level of maturity on one end and then like not have like the relationship experience that another woman of my age would have. That kind of thing. Like it's like, you never went and smoked no weed with nobody. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like why not? Like why wouldn't you have
Right.
done it? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
why not? It's just innocent. Basically it's kind of innocent fun. You know what I'm saying? Like we wasn't really getting into no craziness. We was just the other kids they wasn't getting into nothing crazy. They was just doing what teenagers do. But I always was the straight laced one to the point where sometimes I was scared to step out
Right.
on a limb and be like, let's just do this spontaneously. Like, I don't know. Is that okay? I was thinking like a mom, like a grown person
Mhm.
at 15 or 16. When you're supposed to be kind of reckless at that age, you know what I'm saying? A little bit, but I wasn't. So, but
Okay.
you know,
You feel like you missed anything?
uh, a little bit, a
Okay.
little bit. I kind of wish I could go back and kind of just do the stuff like
Alter a couple
stuff.
things.
Yeah, just a couple of things, but not too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm okay with how I came out because I like who I am.
perfect.
And without those experiences, I would not be who I am.
Awesome. I always appreciate somebody who can accept their life for what it was and grab the best out of it and be happy with who they are. I think that's a really important uh, part of life to self-acceptance, you know. And it sounds like that's what you've done to me through your experiences. Very self-directed life that you have going on here. Super impressive. Um, a lot of internal strength, I think it takes for somebody to go through the steps, especially going into a lifestyle that typically had been rejected in most of the African American neighborhoods. Again, you're going to be that outlier, you know, when you don't believe as other people believe. Um, let's move it on up to today, and because we're on YouTube, our lives have a YouTube element to it now. Um, in well, let's do this too. Though. Are you married?
Am I what?
Married?
Not anymore. I'm widowed.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. And is that I guess I'm sure as a Muslim, that's something that is I don't say that it's required. I'll just ask you, is that something that you look forward to again? Or
I definitely want to be married again. I have had to do a lot of emotional work
okay,
to get back to a point where I could go in the trenches of a marriage again.
okay,
Because at first, when my husband first passed away, I just could not see myself in another man's face wanting him or desiring him
right.
on any level because um, your energy is still tied to that man.
Mm,
Even though was not here anymore, my energy was tied to him. So as a Muslim, Muslim women have a mourning period of 4 months and 10 days where she cannot
right.
get into a relationship with anyone on any level, not
Hmm.
romantically. And
Hmm.
but then after that, she's free to marry if she wishes.
Yeah.
Um, and it took about that long for me to really come to terms with the fact that, wait a minute, after 20 years, I'm on my own around here. I don't
Mhm.
have my husband and he's not coming back. So it's interesting to sort of get to a point where I could sort of detach my romantic energy and even, to be quite honest with you, my sexual energy from a man that was no longer here.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm sure your husband was Muslim too. Your
Yes,
husband? Yeah.
yes.
All right. African American,
Yep.
Black American. Yeah. Um, I noticed. Okay, coming back to YouTube, that your the environment, the two environments that I see you in is manosphere and in your own environment. Um, and it seems that you absolutely understand the male point of view, even in harsh terms that is often in the manosphere. How is it that or well, let me ask you this: the women who don't like, even I had some issues with it in the beginning, and there's still some stuff that I'm just simply not going to do it. But hey, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But do you, the women that are having the problem, or just people that have the problem with maybe sometimes harsh language, or men saying things regarding women that are not put in the best terms.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the struggle of people who have difficulty reconciling that with their own? Okay.
Yeah, of course I understand it because I understand the socialization that we live in and that we get when we grow up,
Mm-hmm.
the social constructs, the ideas, the things that we're taught both on a conscious level and a subconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely understand the shock to the system
There we go.
that it can be for people who run into it and are like, excuse the shit out of me. What are y'all talking about over here?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Did you go through that when you first started listening?
not really.
Okay.
It wasn't too much a shock to my system because of Islam and
Okay.
having been re socialized under that, because that in and of itself is an opposing viewpoint to what we grow up with in the Western society that
Mm-hmm.
we live in. So it's pretty much opposed anyway. So I kind of am used to not sort of being under that type the socialization that we get when we grow up here in America.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of used, so things like polygyny, the concepts of those things don't shock or bother me because in Islam I have to accept them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've had time to digest it.
Mm-hmm.
So I no longer am shocked by it. I understand the purposes, I understand the reasons. And I think what happens with people when things are a shock to the system, it's only because we are taught our social constructs, but we are not taught the nature of things.
Mm-hmm.
And once we understand the nature of things, there are very few surprises. Once you understand the nature of men and women, then our interactions are no longer surprising or shocking.
I agree with you. Um, so for those, I guess you just kind of counseled the people who, or you gave them a piece of advice to understand the nature of things a little more. So you do understand. Okay. Is that me or you? I'm hearing a hum.
It's probably me because it's always noisy outside and there's
Okay.
like a bus stop right here. So I apologize for
Oh,
any
that's okay. Okay.
background.
So it won't last long. I don't hear it much anymore. Um, so you do understand that the women, the people who are thinking like that. Um, and for a while there, I was like, man, it's so, I considered the whole language thing and how a lot of brothers was talking about females. I looked at it a certain way. And then later on I come to realize, hey, these are men's spaces. Now I know how we get down at the barber shop, or but this was being done in a public way. But the way I looked at it later is like, it's not like they coming to women's channel looking to disrespect women. You know what I mean? They are over there in their own space doing their thing, and women are tuning in to that. And if
Mhm.
they felt like, this is what I came to understand. If they felt like that wasn't their frequency, they probably should go do something
Mhm.
different. You know. Any advice to sisters? Would you even advise sisters to come and that they should listen to what those brothers have to say?
I definitely advise it. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that I advise it, here's my advice to ladies who sort of find it to be shocking or appalling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to first understand that you are coming into a space where it is male dominated and that men speak about things very differently than women speak about them. And to sort of sit back quietly and observe it and absorb it, because women have, when we hear things, when we gain knowledge, when we come around, we have to have things to go through our emotional filters first before they can reach our logic. And so many of us don't have a lot of emotional control, and we will respond based solely on how something made us feel versus what was actually said or done.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why I encourage to sit back quietly and absorb what was actually said versus how what was said made you feel. Because I can catch myself getting in my bag still, and none of this shit surprises me. And it can be like, why did he say it like that? But then you have to catch yourself like, okay, you are here in a male space,
Mm-hmm.
and men discuss things among themselves very differently, and they don't necessarily want to amend their speech because you might be present, because you came here. And so uh, that's pretty much my advice, to just allow what is being said to go completely through your emotional filter, get all of that out, and
Mm-hmm.
then let it hit your logic and think actually about what was being said and how it applies to reality and how it may challenge what you think you know.
Mm-hmm. And what you're currently doing,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely gonna challenge uh, that. It's been for me. It was been most interesting to go and to listen, and how my perception actually, after I listened, because at first I was just kind of plucking out, because I spent a lot of time. You guys know over there, I spent a lot of time in women's spaces when I first came to YouTube, and I don't know why or how. Just kind of that was the path. Um, so I felt I'm more of a protective in nature when it comes to dealing with females, and I refrain from kind of referring to them as a certain thing or out of their name. I'm from the Nation of Islam too. I came into my consciousness from Minister by hearing Minister Farrakhan, and I I did about a 2-year stint with the Nation of Islam in my formidable years, early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and became aware of Islam and Orthodoxy as well, to a certain extent. Um, but that was the extent of it for me. My discipline sucks.
Mm-hmm.
My discipline sucks. I'm really Americanized with certain things, man. So I in the nation, a lot of what you see me displaying, that is the foundation. So of course, referring to women out of their name, especially in some kind of public way. Now I done did a whole lot of name calling and shit, truth be told. Um, in my lifetime on up to today, if the wrong shit gets said to me. Same thing with the dudes. I know how to chop it up with the brothers in the best. It's just I don't, certain kind of energy I don't like putting out on the airwaves. Now I have been pushed into the shit on YouTube, where you know you gotta let motherfuckers know, just because I ain't said a few cuss words in a while, don't take that for you know, you
Don't
know
take kindness for a weakness. Don't
Yeah,
think
don't
you with
don't
the
don't
shit.
do that. Right. I kind of, so a couple of channels I went on, I had to kind of, it forced me to. So my point is that that was the way that I saw it, and I felt like um the way that the brothers was describing, and I should have had this for Angry Man, but we talking about a whole lot of other stuff. Um, the way that they were being described, I felt like And I don't know if it was more because I was in a lot of women's space or not. You know, I felt like when I was calling things out on women, that's what it was. On in the women's spaces on YouTube, I felt like when I called out their stuff, they were saying, "Well, why don't you call out their stuff?" And I kind of fed into the balance of that whole thing, you know. And then I just, you know, I would go into some other spaces, and brothers they was waiting on me too on some of the channels. They was mad at me like in a whole lot of spaces. There's a couple of brothers over there. You know, the Grinch go hard on everybody. He laid my ass out in the chat room one time and whatnot. But I began to gradually kind of understand what was going on, and I adjusted. I did the whole filter thing that you was talking about. Ladies should be doing. I had to do that, and then I realized that you know what, I've been kind of socialized. You know what I'm saying, to accept certain shit from women.
Yeah.
You know, I really have. I don't say
Feminism feminizes men and makes women masculine. Feminism affects men too. You
yeah.
all get socialized into it as well. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? It affects you a little bit differently because you're men, but
Hmm.
it says to you that you know whatever a woman does should be acceptable. On one end, she is empowered, and on the other end, she's a helpless baby that doesn't have any.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, and it's effective. It's very effective, and so I, you know, it's still a growth process for me. But I've moved a lot after listening to Angry Man and Obsidian, and there's several others online. I don't say that a person should. I see it as medicine actually, for a lot of us, and I do believe currently that you can overdose on that shit too and lose yourself in it if you're not applying a proper balance for who you are personally. So, and it's the same for anybody that's listening to uh, women that talk feminist talking points all day. And
Mhm.
some women are talking feminist talking points and don't even realize that's what they're doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And brothers are doing it too. We talking feminist shit and not even knowing that that's what we're talking about.
Right.
So just to move and make this and continue to make this about you. Now I noticed in that environment, like as a Muslim, right, as a Muslim woman, that you know how to chop it up with the best of them. Have you ever been approached about how can you be Muslim and talk like that with those brothers over there?
Yeah, all the time. I have
Is it
people
is
come.
it from is it people from your Muslim circle, or is it like outsiders and shit?
It's just people on YouTube because a lot of the people that I know in real life don't even know that I have a YouTube channel.
Okay, okay.
Um, just because they don't know, because it's not their business what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love my Muslim brothers and sisters, but they can get judgmental
Okay, okay.
and about what you're doing, and this isn't right and that it isn't right, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't need nobody to tell me what I can and cannot contribute to the Black community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because being Muslim does not stop it. As a matter of fact, it aids it because I am not to separate myself based on me being Muslim away from the community and culture that I come from.
Mm-hmm.
No other Muslims are asked to do that.
Right.
Other Indian, Pakistan Muslims are very in tune with their culture and they are not asked to leave their communities behind. And sometimes, I don't know if it's like this in other places, but here in Chicago, as I've experienced it, sometimes the African American Muslims are looked upon to absorb themselves in Islam to the point where they no longer are concerned about the Black community from which they come. And I'm not about that. And
Mm-hmm.
Islam is not about that either. There, in no way, shape, or form am I called to forget about where I come from just because I'm a Muslim. And if anything, I am encouraged to fight what would be considered injustices. And
Mhm.
if Black people in America are not the victims of an unjust system, who is?
Mhm. Mhm.
We've been dealing with this since the transatlantic slave trade came to America. So we've been the victims. Like Brother Malcolm said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Right. Right.
So we've been the victims here. And Islam, if it's about many things, but one of the things that it is really about is the fighting of oppression and the liberating of oppressed people.
Mhm.
And so this is my contribution to that, to speak to the women, because we need the cooperation of both if we are going to rise as a people to where we actually need to be, and mitigate the damage of a lot of the dysfunction
Mhm.
that we are experiencing as a group.
Mhm.
So this is my contribution to that. And I will not allow anyone to come and tell me that this is somehow against Islam,
Mhm.
what I am doing, because I'm a Muslim woman and I should be somewhere in a corner being quiet. No, I don't accept that.
Right. Right. So, do they ever specifically say, uh, like any religion is going to always say shit like you shouldn't use foul language and
Hmm.
stuff like that?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
You get that all the time.
Yeah, on YouTube. How you a Muslim but you cussing? Cause I cuss. Cause I'm from the motherfucking west side of Chicago, nigga. And that's what the fuck I grew up at, and that's what I talk like, and that's what I am, and that's who I am. But I can also articulate what I want to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
without any curse words so that people can absorb it and hear it and understand it and disseminate it among a mixed group of people without being offensive. So I've got both on lock. You
Yeah.
want to get with the shits, you get the West Side girl. You want to talk some sense, you get the other one.
Right. Right. Because I noticed just from us having our conversation, it just didn't call for the West Side, and
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to bring it out. But
Right.
if you get into a certain environment, and I'm with you on it, just like I'm not one of those people that think that language and shit sends people to hell and all that old shit like that, man. As I don't buy that. I think you use the language. You gotta be successfully speak people's language in order to be um, to be successful in making any kind of change in that environment. If you
Mm-hmm.
come speaking another language, they're not gonna understand you.
No.
So I'm with you there. I just know that that is a question that I would have been remiss if I didn't ask in the interview. Um, Pookie and Ray Ray, right? So you've been hearing the terms about Pookie and Ray Ray and why women are so attracted to Pookies and Ray Rays. Now, I don't know how true that is. I know that there's a certain kind, I will say that there's always been a certain kind of attraction to uh, a dominant male, or at least somebody that even knows how to pretend to be dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's always been a certain kind of attraction to what somebody might think is alpha. It appears alpha. Um, what is it that you have to say about the subject of women being attracted to a Pookie or a Ray Ray?
Um, Women are attracted to the men that they can get a hold to. As long as there's what is considered a low tier man, there's going to be a female companion to him. There's going to be a woman who can't rise any higher than him,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to want him, and that is going to be the best choice that she can make.
Okay.
Not every woman is capable of reaching to what would be considered a higher tier male. and getting his attention and maintaining a relationship with him, mainly because she doesn't have what it takes. Just like a lower tier man would not be able to reach for a higher tier woman and have a relationship with her because he doesn't have what it takes to have a relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm sitting, to borrow a phrase from him, water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
That is actually very, very true. Because as long as there's a thug dude that ain't shit, that's a homosexual and blah blah blah, there's gonna be a female that ain't shit, that's flightless, that's gonna accept him, and she gonna love the shit out of him, and she gonna be with him, and she gonna have a bunch of babies by that nigga, and it ain't gonna be nothing that nobody can say about it, because you can say, well, she should choose better. She cannot choose better. That was the best she could do. She's
Mm-hmm.
in the good with him, and she ain't even going nowhere where there's another circle of men
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that she can access, and that who would view her as suitable wife material. They're not gonna view her. She can't go to a corporate gala and get nobody's attention. She a hood rat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Silas Bird. She can't. She don't even know what to say to a dude that is not on that bullshit. She
Okay.
don't even know how to approach him. Just like a man who's on bullshit don't know how to approach females that's not on bullshit. I can't tell you how much fuckboy repellent I carry, and
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even know what to say to me,
Mm-hmm.
because they recognize she's not gonna go for this bullshit. So I can't even spit game to her like I would one of these other chicks that's kind of slow on the uptake and
Mm-hmm.
kind of don't know what's going on, or she is with the shits anyway. So I don't really got to do too much convincing for her.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as there's a Pookie and a Ray Ray, it's gonna be a Keisha and a Tamika that go with him,
See,
and it can't be.
I love how you summarize that real nice, quick, and easy. Water seeks its own level. Goddamn, that's it. Now that was that was a nice short way of saying that's kind of really the nature. That's going back to what you were saying. You got to study the nature of things. Um, and I've noticed also that you are like pretty like whenever you talk, it's more of a protective way of over men. Like you are really serious about kind of protecting the men. I don't know if that has anything to do with you said you grew up tomboy or something like that. Do you protect women the same way? Do you think um are you protective over men? Do you feel like you're protective over the men?
I do. I feel very protective over my brothers. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want anyone insulting them
Mm-hmm.
or attempting to emasculate them
Mm-hmm.
or any of that. You know, um, I don't blindly side with anyone.
Okay.
Like, cause if my people on some fuck shit, I'm gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, I can't ride with y'all on this one because this is fucked up. I don't mind doing that, because if we're really cool, the people who are really have your best interests in mind are the ones that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I ain't never been nobody goddamn flunky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I ain't never been a lackey.
Okay.
So I ain't gonna start that shit now at 40 years old on YouTube being a goddamn lackey to somebody, and I can't say shit to you because I'm scared. What the fuck you gonna do? You gonna do shit. So what you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Be mad? I don't give a fuck. So um I don't mind that. And I am protective over the brothers.
Okay.
I'm protective over the sisters, but in a different way. Women want me to cape for them,
Okay.
even through fuckery, and I'm not going to do it. And that to me is protection, because I'm telling you what you need, not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got a whole society talking to women and telling them what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But who's telling them what they need to hear in order to be successful
Mm-hmm.
as women? Even the women who so-called have hit the wall and all of that, the women who are my age are likely raising children actively. So they need the lesson as well in order to pass it to children that they are raising.
Mhm.
So, you know, a lot of women will look at me and say, well, she doesn't back women or she doesn't protect
Mhm.
women
Mhm.
like she does the brothers. It's in a different way. I don't come to say, oh, leave these ladies alone and they aren't doing anything. No, 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 no. I'm going to say, you need this medicine, and this medicine tastes nasty. Tell me what medicine doesn't. But
Mhm.
once you take it, you'll be fine and you'll see things a different way. And I need them to actually hear the message. So if Angry Man is too harsh and BGS is too intellectual and whatever, come to me. I will give you the
Mhm.
explanation behind what is being said so that you can actually hear it
Mhm.
because I want them to hear it. Yes, I will cook a flightless bird to high hell, but at the end of it, I want the message to be heard.
Mhm.
That is what I want. And if a woman can take something from what I'm saying and actually apply it in her life and be better for it, then my work is done.
That was good advice. So they can come to your channel and get some things in a different way, or get the medicine in a more palatable way. Yeah.
Just a little bit. They still don't like what I be saying, but
No,
that's
I
okay.
know. I've been listening to you quite a bit this week. One stream I just was listening to, I loved it. In fact, I'm gonna tell you, it had something to do with feminism in the title, or feminist, or something like that in the title. It was an excellent stream. Um, if I can find it, I'll let you know which one that was. But you have some great videos here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think people should be. If you're not already subscribed in the chat, man, y'all need to get over there. You got some decent views too, so folks are hearing you. As soon as I can find that, I'll let you know what it was. I know it had feminist in the title, but the advice, I consider it medicine too, and I'm gonna say this out loud to the brothers. Uh, I consider it medicine for brothers too, to be in to go to the manosphere, go put your feelings and shit, all that old shit you've been taught about protecting women, and you can't listen to it because it's bothering you. Put it to the side for a minute, listen to it for what it is, and then come out. You do that a couple times, you will begin to see and honestly hear, because they got enough people over there talking. You got all flavors and shit over there. So if you don't like that flavors, Cerulli ain't gonna give it to you in a way that maybe you can hear it. If you don't like the way Cerulli, you got BGS. If you like to go hard, you got Grinch and Angry Man over there, man. So it's really a place where you're gonna hear a lot of different stuff. And I consider myself as one who has taken the medicine and have come out with I think uh, um, uh, a healthier analysis, or yeah, a healthier perspective. That's exactly the word I was looking for. A healthier perspective as a result. So I definitely will say people should do it. So I've been in a back and forth dilemma, because I think that some of the ladies, they say you've been listening to too much of that shit. I go over to Renaissance Woman's channel or something like that. They may have said, I hear people in the chat that you've been listening to too much of that. You know, because they don't understand. And they see really what is not was not understood about me is that I kind of grew up chauvinistic anyway. Like I in the almost the unhealthy kind, you
Mhm.
know. Meaning that I just women, I almost wouldn't even, what you have to say about it was not ever going to affect the way I'm thinking about a certain thing.
Mhm.
But I'm going to be nice about it. And the niceness can fool you and make you think I'm listening to that bullshit you just said, because I won't, because I'm not going to say things in a certain way, and that was the Nation of Islam influence to make sure that. But now I am listening. I intentionally went to a Nyla Says channel, Sinji, and all of these other spaces to actually try to listen to shit that I know I wouldn't listen to. And so I was able to kind of hear it and still get the validity that exists there. But I'm definitely on the other side, manosphere, getting the validity there. And the shit became like, I ain't gonna lie, it was very addictive. So I was listening to it a lot. And then I got to a place where I started feeling like unhealthy. I started feeling unhealthy, so I had to kind of recenter myself and say, look, let me write something out for myself for a while. Let me go do my content for a while. Let me talk about the things that I think are relevant. And you know, I'm a brother that's about the peace, but I definitely like to acknowledge the truth. So I appreciate your contribution to that. You being in that circle over there definitely adds to the perspective. You having the background and the training that that you can bring to the table, the education that you bring to the table, definitely nobody can toss you away as somebody who's not read, or you know, somebody who hasn't gone through anything. So you bring credibility, a lot of credibility to the team as a woman. I'm also starting to see Nicole Ali over there, who shares has a nice way of explaining the male perspective as well. And Char Willie, you guys are the three that I've seen mostly in that space in a very vocal way. You being number one, and very fun to watch, because the way you know how to mix it up with the bros, man. Is there anything going on YouTube that you are for or against? And let's keep it within the male. What do you feel about these female and male female gender, this gender war? What do you feel about that whole thing? What does that mean? What does it even mean?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, what does it even mean to you? Is it real?
It's over, is what it is. If there was one, I wasn't here for the first volleys. I can only hear tales of how it began. But in my opinion, it's over with. The women lost, if there was anything to be lost.
Okay.
And the reason why I say it that way is because in people's eagerness to be correct or to be right, and their propensity to try to avoid being wrong, accountability and acknowledgement get lost in it. Losing the so-called gender war should not be taken as a loss. What it should be taken as let's come to the negotiating table, and instead of contradicting one another for the sake of being right or what have you, let's actually try to understand one another, take accountability for your end of the bullshit. I take accountability for my end of the bullshit, and then let's move forward. And that's really what the collective of men are pointing out. Just take accountability for your part, because we can't move forward with half the group feeling like they don't negatively contribute to anything. We can't do it. And that's one of the problems that I see on the ladies' side. Everything comes back to it being the Black man's fault, as if to say that there can be no fault had on the lady's side. And that's just disingenuous. You never believe anybody that always has a story about something happening to them, but they never tell you what they did. You
Mm-hmm.
never believe that shit. If somebody even a kid, even one of your children, keep telling you that some shit is happening at school, and this one is picking on them, and that one is trying to fight them, and this one is don't like them, and but they never say, well, this happened, and then that's why we got into an
Yeah.
argument. If you can't never say what you did, then you up to some bullshit, because now it's like, okay, well, what did you do?
Right.
What are you doing? And if a person don't never have the other side to that equation and say, well, I was cussing them out, and then that's how we got into an argument, and then that's how we got into, what I'm saying? It's like now you're just being disingenuous and you're lying by omission because you're unwilling to say what your hand in the situation was. And that is what I see from the ladies, unwilling to say, you know what, this is how we contributed negatively to this. This is what we've done. Instead, they want to hold on to, well, we held down the black community and we
Mm-hmm.
loyal to black men, and but the track record doesn't say that. And that's what
Mm.
I'm going by. If you've held down the black community, then you have to take responsibility for the condition that it is in, correct?
Yeah, they don't. You know who preaches that quiet a bit, man? Amiri is somebody who holds that front down a lot to me, like making sure that, like, if you want credit for holding us up, then you got to take some responsibility for the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, and that is where that delineation um, is something that I zoomed in on, and I started to listen more intensely for women that would acknowledge both parts. Meaning, yes, you did hold it down, and yes, it was rough, but now the outcome of it, because you were the one holding it down, is there anybody there that is going to take responsibility for this?
Right.
And that's almost absent from a lot of women that I listen to.
Right.
It's I don't know what it is. I do, and I'm gonna go and stretch and say this too, Kendra, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I think that the brothers acknowledge and admit to more wrong than the sisters do, man.
I agree with that because I've never heard any of the brothers who are really trying to tell the truth about the situation. I've never heard them say black men don't have any fault. Black men don't have any culpability at all. They're completely innocent. They've never contributed negatively, and they don't have any issues socially at all. I've never
Mhm.
heard BGS say that. I've never heard Angry Man say that. I've never heard Cerulean say that. I've never heard any of these brothers even allude to black men not having any
Right.
agency or not having any contribution to anything that happened. They readily cop to it and like, okay, yeah, yeah, we got our issues, and our issues are this, that, and the third, and they call each other to the carpet and say, okay, no, we can't just not say, especially Cerulean. He's real big on
Accountability.
accountability for male leadership.
Yeah.
He's very big on that. Um, for him, things do circle back to the man,
Mhm.
and his leadership or lack thereof. So, so the men will cop to faults and flaws and problems. And that's the frustration I think that comes from the men's side to the women. Okay, if we can cop to it, as difficult as that is, no one wants to say, I failed at this thing.
Mhm.
I didn't do what was correct, or I didn't make the right, proper decision here. And as a result of me not making a proper decision, things turned out badly. And it's like, if I can say that, why can't you, not even on the smallest things, you can't cop to it? And that's the frustration.
That is that has been the frustration, and I've intentionally been listening for it. And there's a few that can hint at it. It's just not as expressed as I hear it on the male side. Um, So, the whole thing for me in YouTube is to try and achieve balance in my, what I listen to. I think it's important that you don't overdose on anything. What do you say to that?
Definitely, there must always be balance in a viewpoint. You never can go too far to one side of anything because too far to one side of anything is extremism in that thing. And there can be too much of anything. So there must always be some sort of balance achieved, a balance of thought and a balance of um, what is being said and how it is being expressed because you want the majority of people to hear it and understand it and absorb it and take it to heart. And you don't want to go too far to one side because you alienate so many different people. And if our point is to bring healing to our communities through addressing the broken relationship between men and women, then we can't alienate one side or the other. We have to meet in the middle because usually that's where the truth is anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. That's I believe that the middle is the uh, best place to meet, man. Um, I, in terms of the other things, I was talking about gender wars for a second, but if Black YouTube should improve, what improvements would you recommend from out of your, couple years observation? What would you recommend? What would you recommend the Black YouTubers? I'm sure you've seen all kinds of content. Um, I'm sure, a lot of my world on YouTube has been between the big circles of women's talk and the circles of male talk. Um, if we are to improve or to get better, are we doing fine with just the different opinions that we're holding on this side and that side of the aisle? Or is there some missing element that you would recommend that um, the manosphere, and then I'll just for the sake of argument say the woman's sphere? Is there something that you would interject so that it could be better or smoother?
Um, I don't know if I can interject anything because the way that I see it, everyone isn't going to come to the table anyway, and
Okay.
everybody can't be saved. Hence the 2/3 policy. um, there are going to be people who dissent to the very end,
Okay.
and they may not be part of the solution and may need to be left in their corner to dissent. Go ahead and keep dissenting until the rest of us figure out what we need to do to move forward, and we'll move forward. And you're either with us or against us. It's really simple to me. It's kind of black and white because you can speak to everyone and see if we can come to terms with things. I'm not against that. But once I realize that, okay, you're not going to see it this way, you're not even going to try to see it this way, even if I come down to the middle and say, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from. So let's see if we can sort of compromise or meet in the middle with this. And you're just staunch over there. I'm going to leave you over there after a while. And I think that's one reason why we as a people have not moved forward in general, not even just on YouTube, because we're concerned about every member of the group, which isn't a bad thing, but we have to be able to drop them. If you're not going to be part of the solution, you
Mhm.
are part of the problem.
Mhm.
And if you're going to be part of the problem, then I'm not going to carry you through. You're going to be left in the cold, get right or get left. And that's real talk. You can be
Okay.
left behind.
Okay. So yeah, so people should just continue doing what they're doing, and we're gonna just kind of fall right into that 2/3 or the 1/3 rule.
Hmm.
And
You're either getting with the program or you're not. We don't all have to agree on every single point.
right,
And I
right.
think that's where Black people get our mix ups,
Mhm.
because we are tribal minded. We are. But at the same time, if there is going to be a plan that we come together on consensus to
Mhm.
make, and this is how we're going to move forward, we don't need people from the peanut gallery talking about that ain't gonna work. We don't need that. We don't need that. You know what I'm saying? And the Gray Faulkner Initiative is the perfect example
Mhm.
of two brothers who are very intelligent,
Mhm.
have come up with a viable way in which the Black community can tap into the wealth and resources of a country that our ancestors died to build.
Mhm.
And there's no reason why we should not tap into that. And so when they come up with a 6 prong plan of how we can actually work to get this wealth, conserve it with us, and create a generational sort of wealth, and at the same time, heal some of the dysfunction that we deal with and try to be able to come together as a real community and actually understand how other communities work, how culture actually works, instead of the dysfunction that we've been mired in for hundreds of years. When they come up with a plan like that, when no one else has come up with a plan, anybody who has a dissenting voice but doesn't have a better plan has to shut up.
Okay.
You got to shut up. Because if you have a dissenting viewpoint, but you also don't have something that's better than what you're disagreeing with, if you disagree with the Great Faulkner Initiative, fine, fine, if you disagree. However, what's your plan? Now I have to ask you, you disagree on what basis? And now, after you've told me the basis upon which you disagree, how would you improve upon that? And if you can't say, if you say, well, I don't know, I don't have a plan, well, then you need to have several fucking seats and sit your ass down. Because you don't have a dog in the race, now do you? Because if we succeed, you'll be one of the motherfuckers that just reap the benefits without actually putting sweat and skin in the game, right?
Mhm.
So sit your ass down.
Yeah, nah, that's the truth. A lot of truth in that right there. So in terms of YouTube and do you have YouTube like beefs or anything?
No, I
Uh,
try to stay away from picking people, other YouTubers out specifically
oh,
and
you're
have.
definitely not specifically, but like just when I say YouTube beefs, I will say it like this: like people that may have just like positions that are just maybe the polar opposite from you, and maybe they point you out uh, or not. Does that exist for you? Where
Um,
people are actually kind of pointing Kendra out and saying she's crazy for this or that.
if I'm being pointed out by YouTubers, they're small and I don't know it, because sometimes they will come to my channel and I'll be all kinds of mammies and pygmies and other derogatory
Okay,
terms,
okay,
and what have you. Um, I don't, if I disagree, because I disagree with a particular flightless queen,
okay.
but I'm not concerned about her personally. I'm more concerned about the talking points.
Yeah.
I'll go against what your points are because I don't need to attack a person or do ad hominems. I can, if I disagree with your stance, I can battle you on that ground.
Hmm.
I disagree with your stance, and this is why I disagree with that stance.
Hmm.
And this is why that stance is wrong. I don't have to go any further than that.
Right.
So to me, that's keeping it relatively clean, because if you want to go against my talking points, that's fine. And I feel like that is fair game because I'm on a public platform disseminating information. So if someone has seen it and say, you know what, I disagree with her and I disagree with on this basis, that's fine. I don't mind that because everyone isn't going to agree with anything that I have to say. And I actually will welcome any, especially female, who has a dissenting view. We don't have to go descend into roasting, although I will, but we don't have to because if you can stay on the talking points, we can stay on the talking points and I'll destroy you there. It doesn't matter. We're good. And after
Mm-hmm.
that, there won't be any hard feelings. We can, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, that was a good diplomatic way to put it. I'm appreciating it. Um, what about males? Well, what about the I think you kind of already addressed it. The coons, not even males, but period, the coons of the community. Um, we watch some people on YouTube and we may consider them coons or not, or all of these titles. Are you a person that's into labeling folks and kind of slapping that coon title on them real quick because they hold some positions that are not um, either the same or maybe even polar opposite than yours? Are you a person that kind of throws a label on them real quick and go and run with it?
Not necessarily, because to me, those labels are not to be tossed around haphazardly.
Mhm.
Because calling somebody a coon
It's pretty bad.
is an indictment on their whole
Yeah.
outlook and what they stand for. Um, so I don't just, oh, you a coon and you a bitch and you're this and that. I don't care about any of that. If you cooning, that's gonna come out anyway. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna be able to hide that shit. You know what I'm saying? And the coons that I'm concerned about aren't even just YouTube personalities. They are people who have a much wider audience who, are tasked with the subversion or gatekeeping for our people. Those are the most dangerous, I think. And a lot of times they're not just YouTube personalities. And I'm not trying to belittle YouTube personalities because YouTube is a worldwide platform.
Mhm.
But I'm talking about people who have had influence even before the rise of YouTube uh, and work to be the gatekeepers of white supremacy and kind of keep our people in the back and keep us kind of running around in circles on our own and not looking up to see what's really happening in the world. That to me is a coon.
Mhm.
That's a coon. That's a person who you are actively and knowingly working against us as a people, and you're working for maintaining the status quo that has always been unjust to us. So somebody that may have maybe a different political standing, that to me isn't coonery necessarily because I don't have any political standings one way or another at all anyway, because I just see that differently than most people. But no, I'm not real into just throwing a title on somebody and
Mhm.
letting that
Yeah,
be.
running with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's important to me too. And you kind of answered my question about what your political stance in the world would be. I think you're running with the Gray Faulkner initiative as a way to address Black concerns. Would you Is anything added to that as a potential solution? So I'm saying the Gray Faulkner initiative, and I think you may have even mentioned some other things there. What would be the things that you consider black solutions?
Um, I haven't heard because I don't follow politicians. I'm not even gonna sit here and act like I follow politics or
Yeah, me
know
either.
different platforms that different politicians may or may not be running on. The way that I see things is that regardless of who has been in office whether they've been Democrat or Republican, whether they've been black or white, whether they've come from this platform or that platform, the trajectory of this country has never changed. And neither has the plight of black people, not for the better. And because it has never had a severe deviation from its foundation and its roots, means that everybody is pretty much on the same fucking page.
Right.
And if you're on the same page that you've been on since the so-called founding fathers started this bullshit, then that automatically sort of means that you're not for my people. Because the status quo is that our people remain the slave class in this country like we started. So the Gray Faulkner initiative to me is not only plausible, but possible, and something that can actually be achieved. Now, local politics may be something different that Black people can influence in the places where they are. But we don't really, as a group, we don't really understand how the world works. We don't understand how the government works or how politics work. We try to figure out how other special interest groups get shit done. They pay. You have to pay to play. And we are so moral, and we almost take a moral high ground where people are supposed to fight for the right things for altruistic reasons. The world doesn't work that way. If you want a politician or a group to do something you want them to do, you have to incentivize them to do it for you, or else they will not. Because, for example, when Obama became president, Black people sat on their asses and thought, well, he'll uplift all Black people. When in reality, you don't even know what you want as Black people. Did you solicit him for anything?
Right.
Did you pay? Did you come to him as a consensus, as a consolidated group, and say, this is what we demand as Black people? And since you're our first Black president, we want you to do it. And here is a list of what we want, and this is how we want it to go, you to go about it. And if you're gonna go about it like this, we're gonna hold your feet to the fire if you don't. But then with that, you have to have paid for his campaign. And you know what I'm saying? If he's not indebted to what you said or what you want, he's not going to do it. You know who did pay and they reap benefits from it? The LGBT community. And they reap benefits from many laws that were passed under his watch that were in favor of that community. But do you think he did that because he loved them, or do you think he did that because he was incentivized to do that?
Incentivization.
Thank you.
All right. Well said, man. You got people bragging about how articulate the way you put it, so eloquently put things in the chat. I don't know. Have you been watching the chat?
Yeah, I'm watching the chat. And thank everybody.
Yeah. Now this is awesome, man. I'm more than impressed with your ability to summarize things and make them really short if you need to, and expound on them if necessary. This is a big deal. I've heard you. Oh, that video that I was talking about earlier was called "Feminism and the Death of Black Womanhood." So the people in the chat, man, that is a video. I dropped it in here I'm gonna drop it again. But yeah, y'all should watch that one right there. That was a good one. Good introspection from Kendra in that video. A lot said there. I've heard you use the term flightless bird. I think it's an angry man term. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Explain. You were explaining that. Explain that for me one more time. Flightless bird.
The flightless bird actually came from an analogy that he presented in one of his videos where he was speaking about the dodo bird and why it is extinct. and it was extinct because of its inability to evolve during and adapt to a changing environment, which is why all things go extinct when they do, because they're unable to adapt to any new environment. And one of the key elements is that it is a flightless bird. It was a bird that could not fly. And so, since he likened certain women or ratchets or whatever to the dodo bird, the inability to evolve or learn or do anything that was useful, it became, instead of calling them dodo birds, it just became calling them flightless birds, because they are birds with wings, but the wings are useless. They do nothing, they don't fly. And so that is where that term comes from, and just calling them flightless, because a lot of times the women who refuse to evolve or change or adapt, they are flightless. And I'm looking for them to go extinct, because learning and evolving is part of the human experience. And how could you not have that? How can you not engage or involve in that when that is the human experience? We're the most adaptable animal on the planet, which is why we're the apex predator. It's not because we have sharper teeth. It's not because we're physically stronger. It's because we're smarter and we're able to adapt.
Yeah, and I most certainly agree with you. I'm a yell a phrase out here at you real quick and just have you respond. Toxic masculinity.
No such thing.
Okay.
No such thing as toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity did not even originally refer to black men at all. It was referred to the masculinity and the monolith of white male masculinity under white supremacy.
Okay.
Um, Toxic masculinity is a term that is derogatory and is used to shame men away from doing things that come naturally to them as men. Um, because abusive people don't fall in the category of toxic masculinity to me, because abusers are going to be abusers no matter what. And it has nothing to do with their masculinity or their femininity, because there are abusive women as well. So I find that there's no such thing. I love masculine men. I love men. Their masculinity in and of itself is the turn on. That's why I like them so much.
Cool. Throw another one at you. Where's it at? Damn, I just looked at it. Oh, it was called. Damn, where did it go? Not submissive women. Give me a quick second. I just passed it.
And while you're looking for that gap talk, I'm going to divert a little bit
Go ahead.
and speak to someone in the chat. Miss Sherelle Brown, we may have to take this up on my platform at some point, sweetheart, because angry man, first of all, you're asking me about another person. I am associated with Angry Man. I would not have a platform if it were not for the support of Angry Man and BGS Ibmore. And so, therefore, I am never going to denigrate or shame them or dissociate myself from them and saying that now I'm too big for my britches and they aren't a part of what I have built. I would not have been able to build it without their support. They have supported me from day one, and I'm very thankful of that. And he is not an abuser. If your feelings are hurt by what Angry Man says, you have the option to turn him off. But there's a reason why you listen, because part of you knows that he's correct, even if your feelings are hurt by what he says.
The term, very well said. Very well said. There's a term term, another term I'm gonna throw at you, and these are titles of your videos too.
Mhm.
uh, traditional woman
A
needed.
traditional woman is a woman that understands not only the nature of men, but the nature of herself as a woman. She understands that her role is supportive and that within that, there is no weakness or shame. That is her number one duty is the support of her men. She's created for this purpose, if you believe in people being created. Um, her rearing of children, her support of her husband and the community that she comes from, and performing what has always been traditional gender roles for women is not anything that she should be ashamed of, and it is nothing that makes her weak. This is actually where her strength lies in being a woman, because we have to understand that men and women have different strengths and we are not made the same and we do not perform the same function. So men have their area of strength that we cannot touch, but simultaneously we have our areas of strength that men cannot touch, and they complement one another. And so being a traditional woman is simply being a good complement to men. And Sherelle, I don't care what you have a problem with, sweetheart.
She's still talking.
She's talking because, sometimes women think that they can shame you into doing what they think that you should be doing.
Right.
You don't have to bow down to men, but you can come to my channel later on and we can have a discussion, Sherelle. Subscribe so that you can get a notification when I go live. I have your name in the title.
Yeah. Sherelle, I don't mind you coming to the channel. It's just that and definitely you're welcome back. But don't make comments that are, if you got a question, you ask the question, you know.
She certainly can ask questions. I would love for her to ask me some
Yeah,
questions.
like make it a question. Don't just kind of make you derail the interview sometimes when you do that kind of stuff. Yeah, thanks, Sherelle. If you got a question though, definitely ask it. I think sorry. I think you just don't like an angry man's channel and you want her to be accountable for his channel. And that's just not gonna doesn't work. And thank you still. Um, thanks for that traditional woman explanation. There was another one. State-sponsored feminism.
That would be the gynocracy itself. Um, because feminism has always been state sponsored. That's where it comes from. Women like Gloria Steinem were the figureheads backed by the CIA in order to implement what we come to know as modern feminism, starting with the second wave in the 60s and 70s. And so feminism has always been state sponsored. This isn't anything that really women even came up with. Our government came up with that as a way to divide really the Black community, because we have suffered the most behind its proponents, or its, that's not the word I'm looking for, its points, I guess. We've suffered the most behind it. Our community having already been fractured and damaged, our culture already having been broken by the process of chattel slavery. We do not need anything that helps further divide us. We are a people like a china vase that had been shattered,
Mm-hmm.
and someone carefully putting it back together with super glue. It can't take another shattering. You can't break it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, because it's gonna be come to a point where it can't be put back together anymore. So feminism came to shatter an already broken people. And we are living in the tatters of that right now. Black men and women simply, we can't see eye to eye because of it. And it has always been state sponsored. It was state sponsored through Section 8 and welfare and these government programs, which did nothing but perpetuate poverty in our communities. We're not any richer for having engaged in that.
Mm-hmm. That was, whew. This is the stuff, man. I know that people, I like to hear it from the female perspective. This damn shit that came into my chat room kind of has disturbed me just a little bit here. Hey, fam, I'm gonna ask y'all, man. I see the mods are already on it. Do not disrespect the guests that if you're here to support Gab Talk Media, don't respect the guests that I invited to come and share their stuff, man. And don't disrespect people in my chat room, especially you see the angry man has a wrench, and you that means for some kind of relationship. Just don't disrespect the people. Go do that shit over there, man. That's just, come on, it's basic to me. So anyway, yeah, just time them out if they don't know how to talk, man. Continue to time them out. I don't want to block them yet. If it gets too goddamn off the hook, I'm gonna block you from the channel. All right, so yeah, so Sherelle Brown, give her a break. We've put her in timeout for a second. Give her a break, because if you keep insulting her, I'm sure she's gonna want to say something back. All right. Okay. Great explanation for that. And sorry for folks coming up in the chat room.
Oh no,
I don't know who she is.
Thing is because I'm interviewing and I'm on your platform, and I know that you carry it a certain way here. But I am all the smoke. So
nah, I know you do.
At all.
Yeah, I know you do.
Sherelle Brown, I wonder where you are when I'm calling out all strags. I hope you show up next time. Probably be today. Bye-bye.
Explain that to me too, strag.
Strags. Whereas the Grinch guy.
Yeah. Say I love the way he. That dude be having me rolling, man.
Right? Crazy.
Go ahead.
He came up with that. He introduced all of us to the term strag. He said him and his friends have been using that term for quite a while. It is short for struggling hags, a strag. Okay. Which basically is a ratchet who is no longer able to change. She's gone past the time and the age where her mindset can change and she can do anything about the direction of her life. So she goes from a ratchet who might actually have a chance to not be a ratchet into a strag, which is a ratchet that can't change.
Yeah, it's funny as I don't know what, man. That dude is funny. He got the voice too that he be putting on. Right. I'm gonna reach out. I'll reach out to him. I don't know if he's ready to talk to me yet. I know he wasn't feeling me for a second, but I definitely like to get to the message to him that if he's willing to come on, man. I think a lot of people would want to know who this brother actually is in his own in a setting like this where he actually is laying it out who the Grinch is. So if you can get that at least a message to him, do that for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crew said he needs an interview. Yeah, I like to get him over here because I've already seen that it's a lot more to him than insults. I've seen them play it majorly cool. I've seen the smarts come out. I've seen the thing come out because Tad's gonna bring the worst and the best out in people.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw them go at it and then find some ground of commonality, um, where they actually may have understood each other a little bit. Somebody had blocked them on the channel. I unblocked them a while ago. But yeah, I is there anything else you want to add to the discussion before we close? I'm actually I've asked and you've handled very well and concisely every single question. Some of the questions I asked, they were actually there were two questions that I had, and you answered. I asked one of them, and you end up you expanded your answer, and it covered some of my questions. So it kind of shortened me just a little bit on having to. No, it's all right. No, it's perfect actually. Because I want to keep my interviews I want to keep most of my broadcasts in 2 hours, within 2 hours if possible. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love I'm gonna be honest with you, I love the folks that's doing 6 and 8 hours. It's just it's so difficult to find stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that a section of something is somebody was on a certain show, and then I go there and it's 8 hours, and then I got to scroll through trying to find find that section. So that's kind of like I don't enjoy that part of it. So I try to limit my streams. Is there anything that you want to add on to the people? I remember you was in my chat one time. I was like, man, Kendra D over here. And you was like, yeah. I said, what you doing over here? Something. You was like, I'll watch you more than you know. At what point did you know I was even on YouTube? Was it from Nyla's page?
I don't even remember how I be knowing and seeing people. I think I just started seeing your name pop up in different chats or
Mhm.
whatever, and then I realized I said, "Oh, okay, he has a channel."
Mhm.
And I've caught a couple of your panels,
Mhm.
uh, especially the ones where RBR be acting out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I supposed to get him on here for an interview, man.
Oh God, oh God, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've caught a couple of panels. I can't claim to that I've watched a whole slew of your videos, but I have caught you a couple of times in your car and kind of chopping it up and that sort of thing. So I have. I'm very selective of the videos that I watch because sometimes I don't even watch all. I have to get to them because sometimes I'll even miss Angry Man stuff and I'll be like, okay, I have to get back to that. So I have a backlog of videos of people that I have to watch because a lot of people on YouTube are interesting and you are one of them. But you're on the up, you're coming up though. I like your content and I like your approach is very balanced. So I like it.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. My understanding is definitely has come up a great deal. My posture has adjusted. Um, and like I say, what you see over in the manosphere is men, and they cut from all sorts of cloths, and you can't control uh, how men, you know, decide to express themselves. It's no, it is what it is. You either are able to take it when you enter the circle, or you can't take it and you don't come over there. And that's what I suggest for folks. Um, but what else in terms of what do you want to share with the YouTube community at large? Any final thoughts? Any suggestions for the YouTube community? Even before that, where do you, in terms of a channel, do you intend on upping your game some kind of way with I even heard you talk about OBS, using it to make your presentations a little bit more, I don't know, exciting or.
Yeah, I do want to sort of up my production value, I think I would say, with a little better equipment. Because right now I'm using just my laptop and a webcam, and that's sort of basic when you first start. That's what you have, and so that's what you use. But I think that my channel would be served better with a little bit more cleaner production, especially for when things are live. If I took more time for my pre-recorded videos, my editing could be better, and just sort of more detailed and giving someone a good visual as they watch even my pre-recorded videos. Because I'll just record my voice, put a track to it, and put a picture to it, and I'm done with the video. But sometimes it can be served better with a little more than that, a little more thought. And I'm actually really creative, so there's really no excuse for my lives and videos not to reflect that creativity. I don't know that I would go in the same direction as, let's say, Angry Man in the way that he carries his live show, because it fits him, but I don't know that it would quite fit me to do the exact same. So I kind of have to feel around and feel what is natural to my channel and my vibe and what I want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. RBR gave you the compliment. He says, "Good, it's good that you identify the real sisters on the platform."
Well, thank you, RBR.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even like my voice, sweetheart. I don't have a rockabye baby voice.
Hey, Sherelle, man, you got to go.
I
Sherelle,
love you too, baby. She just giving attention. That's all. She
oh my
just
God, Sherelle, you say anything else simple like that, man? I'm gonna block you. Seriously, that was the last one. Dad, go to Kendra's channel, man, and you know, spark up a conversation or something. Good grief. All
yeah.
right, all right. So
Sherelle,
she can't help
Sherelle,
it.
you need to come to my channel, boo. Me and
Yeah,
you need a conversation.
she can't help it.
No,
Uh,
you can't
I,
help it.
yeah, I went ahead and sorry. I'll unblock you in a little bit, Sherelle, but not for this stream. Um, so that was one hater I see that came in and wanted to express themselves. That's the nature of the beast, I guess. We got the stream up to daggone there 50 folks. We was over 50 for a while there. Um, and if you don't have any final thoughts, we can go ahead and close out.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any final thoughts other than to thank you very much for having me on your platform. I enjoyed this interview very much. It was I'm not gonna say it was better than I thought, because I didn't have any preconceived notions, but I had seen interviews that you've done before, and I know that you're very thorough and the questions are very good, which is why I didn't mind coming on, because it's not like a troll interview. You're actually trying to interview and get to know the person. So I enjoy myself, and I guess that's it. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
no, yeah, appreciate it. I have some, yeah, and I'm glad you said that it's not a troll interview, because that is literally what I don't want to do. I don't like. I think those interviews that we consider troll interviews probably should have been a panel with a topic to debate somebody,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes people are inviting you to talk, and sometimes they'll guise it as an interview because they really want to get at you at a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cheap and tacky. So I steer from it. I think the best way to learn something is to ask all the questions that you want to ask. And I think about things that I feel like people might want to disagree with you on. I definitely do that. But I think it's better to just pose everything as a question and have the person answer it. If the answer is still unclear, you ask it again in a different way so that they can make it clear. That way everybody's getting their answer. What I think is a poor interview is one that where people are asking questions, allowing the person to vaguely answer the question and not go in for clarity. I think that's you just reading a sheet of paper at that point. I
Right.
like I like it to actually end up being some kind of conversation. So yeah, I didn't invite you to an ambush. I wanted to talk to you, talk with me, and I'm appreciating it. I will be. What's next up for you in terms of videos? Are you doing a live today, or you going over to one of the other panels?
I'm not doing a live today. You might can catch me on Torian's panel because I think he's doing.
Oh, he's been doing panels.
Torian is going to do a panel, I believe, today because he did invite me to it. So
Okay.
I'm going to go over there and chop it up with him. Torian Rain, aka Petty Pendergrass. We're gonna chop it up.
He was up in here a little earlier. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. I like Torian's page. He puts out a lot of good news on there.
Hmm.
I didn't know he was into lives now.
Yeah, he because his channel gets flagged, so
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
live
yeah,
because he has a lot of trolls. There are a lot of trolls for him. So,
yeah.
but he's got a very large platform. I'm very proud of
He
Torian.
does. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he damn sure does. So with that said, family, I appreciate you coming through. Um, Assalamu alaikum as a Muslim brother.
Wow, they go out.
I hope to have you back for something. You know, it could be a panel discussion on something that I believe that you would definitely be, you know, I think you'll be a addition to any discussion, to be honest with you. So just people on in there. If you like the topic, something you want to say, man, you know I'll shoot you a link in a heartbeat. So
Okay.
that's what's going to be happening. This was awesome. Good luck to you and peace and blessings to what I hope that everything you want to do on YouTube is it becomes a sense for you to get the information, whatever you need to get it done. I hope you're able to do it. I think you're surrounded by all the right people over there with all the know-how of how to get things done on YouTube. So good luck to you and peace and blessings, man.
All right. Thank you, Gab, and thank you, chat. Everyone have a great day.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Peace, fam. That was Kendra D in the place to be. Linda Anderson. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I appreciate your presence. Soul, appreciate your presence. Great moderation. Bismillah. All my mods, crew, Darius. Thanks for coming through, bro. Moses Jenkins. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you subbed to her page. Excellent video she has. I'll drop this in here one more time. I enjoyed the crap out of that video today in preparation for this interview. CC Sanders, welcome. Um, yeah, go ahead and back it up and check it out. Tony Garrison, what's up, man? We need to help Black Spot get to YouTube's level. Yeah, I got a paid account over there, Black Spot and Black Junction. Um, in fact, is it still called Black Spot? It's called Black Space now. I think they changed it to Black Space TV, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but yeah, I got a paid account for both of those platforms. Yeah, but salute, Tony. Crew, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Courtney Saladin, thank you. Thank you for the compliment and welcome to the channel. Rome the Upsetter, welcome to the channel. JBA, welcome to the channel. Cheryl Brown, man. I'll unblock her, but she clearly didn't like has issues with probably with the manosphere. 6-figure days, thanks for coming through. RBR, thanks for coming through, bro. I told you I didn't block you, man. I checked a couple times. I don't have you blocked. Somebody did block you a while ago, but I've been unblocked you. All of your channels. There's no channel of yours that's blocked on my YouTube page. Who else do we have in here? Rain and Woman, hey. Yeah, we'll try and get the Grinch over here, see if he wants to come through. Epic, what up, dog, man? I got to get you on the panel, bro. I done heard you drop your wisdom over on Nyla's. So yeah, I got to get you through, man. We can chop it up on something. Humphrey Jones, good to see you. Welcome to the channel. Sosa, what's up, man? Manasseh Doak, welcome to the channel. Please come again. Paul Ridge, welcome to the channel. I see we had to block your your message. Yeah, hey, y'all just gotta be respectful when you come to folks channels, man. The mods are doing their job. You know, that's all I can say about that. Wow, I had to delete a lot of messages up here. Who's that? Khalid Jane 79. Welcome to the channel. First time seeing you. You come back again. Shadika Smith, welcome to the channel. You say you don't like how they treated Taz last night. But where was Taz? My bro Amiri was in the house. It's my dude. We got to chop it up soon, Amiri. Think I got Mr. earlier. Kangster 178. What's happening? Silks be scratching. I think I got you earlier. Shout out to Angry Man for coming through too, man. I appreciate him passing through. I enjoyed the interview, like fully and completely. Hey, Monica Mo Justice. Y'all subscribe to Monica. Thanks for coming through. Good folks, Monica is, man. Thanks, Max. Appreciate it. Did my best. Y'all don't forget to shop with Soul Alchemy, man. Great products over there on her site. Definitely subscribe to Kendra D. Yeah, and you subscribe to Soul Alchemy too. She puts up content as well. Subscribe to Monica Mo Justice. It's all in the name. I'll just put it like that, man. Her point of view. Nikki C in the building. Great to see you. Great to see you. I'm glad you came through. It's at the end of the interview, so you back it up. It was about 2.5 hours, I think it ended up being. And I'm just acknowledging the guests now. Minimum problems in the chat room while I was doing the interview. I thank you. Thank the guests for that. But with that said, fam, I'm gonna go ahead and close out This is Gab from Gabtalkmedia, and I'm gonna go watch what y'all are doing live. I'm gonna go see the YouTube world. I'm gonna check everybody, man. See what's going on with everybody. There's some stuff I missed last night that I wanna probably go and hear. I don't know what the task thing is about, but I think I'll go and see what that stuff is about. Yeah, excellent interview, Nikki C. Yeah. All right. So that's Gab. I'm out.